Take a look around the room you're sitting in. Your keyboard, your phone case, the bottle on your desk, maybe even parts of the clothes you're wearing. Plastic is everywhere. In fact, humans now produce over 400 million metric tons of it every single year, making it one of the most common materials on Earth. But have you ever stopped to wonder where it actually comes from? Most people would probably answer with one word: oil. And they're right. But that's only the very last chapter of a story that began hundreds of millions of years before. To understand where plastic actually comes from, we have to travel back to a world with no people, no dinosaurs, and no flowers. Hundreds of millions of years ago, Earth looked nothing like it does today. Instead of cities and forests, much of the planet was covered by warm, shallow oceans. And although these oceans looked empty from above, they were filled with microscopic organisms called plankton and algae. Using sunlight, they captured energy from the sun and built tiny carbon-rich bodies. Individually, they were almost invisible, but together, they formed one of the largest living populations our planet has ever seen. Eventually, every one of these organisms died, and when they did, they slowly drifted to the bottom of the ocean, day after day, year after year, for millions upon millions of years. Normally, dead organisms decompose. Bacteria break them apart and return their atoms back into their environment. But deep beneath the seafloor, something different happened. Layer after layer of mud and sediment buried these tiny organisms faster than oxygen could reach them. As millions of years passed, the pressure increased and the temperature slowly rose. The organic material was compressed into a waxy substance called kerogen, which, given enough heat and time, transformed into crude oil and natural gas. So, the oil we pump out of the ground today is the remains of ancient life that has been transformed over hundreds of millions of years. This is where most people think the story ends. Oil becomes plastic. Simple. Except that's not actually how it works. Crude oil isn't one single substance. It's more like an enormous soup made of thousands of different hydrocarbon molecules. When crude oil reaches a refinery, it's heated inside massive distillation towers. Different molecules boil at different temperatures. So, instead of getting one product, we get many. Some become gasoline, others diesel, jet fuel, asphalt, lubricants, and one particular portion, called naphtha, becomes the starting point for most everyday plastics. But even naphtha isn't plastic yet. Its molecules are still far too large and disorganized. So they're sent into a giant industrial furnace reaching temperatures of around 850 degrees Celsius. This process is called steam cracking. The intense heat literally breaks the large hydrocarbon molecules into smaller ones. The most important of these molecules are called ethylene and propylene. Scientists use a process called polymerization. Instead of leaving these tiny molecules alone, they chemically link them together, one after another, until they form chains containing thousands, even millions of repeating units. These enormous chains are called polymers. In fact, the word polymer literally means many parts. And this is what plastic really is, an incredibly long chain of repeating molecules. The exact molecules you start with determine the type of plastic you get. Polyethylene, polypropylene, PVC, PET, they're all built from slightly different molecular building blocks, which is why each of them behave differently. Humans have actually been experimenting with plastic-like materials for far longer than most people realize. In the mid-1800s, inventors were searching for substitutes for expensive materials like ivory. In 1856, Alexander Parkes introduced parksene, often considered the world's first made plastic. A few years later, John Wesley Hyatt improved a material called celluloid, creating an affordable replacement for ivory that could be used in everything from combs to billiard balls. Then, in 1907, Belgian-American chemist Leo Beekeland invented Beekelite, the world's first fully synthesized plastic. Unlike earlier plastics, it wasn't based on natural materials at all. It was made entirely through chemistry. That breakthrough changed everything. During World War II, plastics became essential for parachutes, aircraft windows, electric insulation, and military equipment. After the war, manufacturers realized that the same material could be used to make everyday products. Within just a few decades, plastics spread into nearly every part of modern-day life. So, the next time you pick up a plastic bottle, remember that it didn't really begin in an oil refinery. Its story started hundreds of millions of years ago, flowing through ancient oceans as microscopic life. Those organisms were buried underneath the earth, transformed into oil, broken apart inside furnaces hotter than lava, and rebuilt one molecule at a time into the object you're holding today. Plastic isn't just a product of modern engineering. It is the final chapter of a story that has been unfolding long before humans ever walked the earth.